Yeah, hey Rod, Ted Johnson, Marketing for Guides. I want to thank you so much for inquiring about our website analysis. You know, there are times that it is appropriate to provide somebody with a written analysis of what we find, but in your case, I thought the best way to do this was to just record a video for you, and I'll take you through a quick little presentation reviewing your site for you and looking at some of the highlights of it. As you probably had seen in my email, we are a web development and marketing company that solely markets our services, the guides, outfitters, charters, and lodges. And forgive me, we have about 150 clients worldwide. We not only do a lot of work and business in the U.S. and in North America, but we also do business in South America and do some work in South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Greenland, and sort of the list goes on. And all we work with, as I mentioned, are guides and lodges. I'm going to go over to your site real quick, and I've got to say, you got some amazing deer. If you took these pictures yourself, that looks like a place I'd like to hang out with you for a few days. Anyway, the site itself is very aesthetically appealing. It's got a lot of good content on a number of the different pages. It looks as though it may be about 10 years old. And Google has sort of changed in the way that they look and evaluate sites for their rankings. I would imagine a number of years ago you had some pretty good rankings on this site, but as you'll see as we go through, those appear to be diminished a little bit. If I start scrolling down on your site, again, I commend you for its look and feel. You've got a lot of nice content there. But on the home page now, Google is looking for a minimum of 1,200 words to give you the best rankings. And if I just kind of eyeball this, it appears that maybe you have half of that amount. And the other thing is it doesn't look like you're taking advantage of a correct heading structure, in that you only really have one heading, and that heading is Welcome to Southeast Kansas Outfitters. Now, I'm not going to go through every single page, but I am going to go through a couple of them here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and click on the hunts. And again, you have some nice content here. This page is relatively long in that it has a lot more content than the home page does. Now, subpages, Google is looking for about 300 words of content. And again, you've done very, very well here. But again, the heading structures are not set up, and so that's one of the things that's really affecting your rankings on Google. The only heading that you really have on this particular word is the word hunts, and it's not refined enough really to drive traffic accordingly. I'm going to go over to your photos here real quick. Again, I love your photos. I'd love to see this with the bucks in the water and that sort of thing. Again, it looks like you had more fun than most of us do, but there's really not a whole lot of photos in here. Now, I'd imagine that you've got also photos in the deer kills and that sort of thing. Apparently not. There's no photos there, and so a page like this really is hurting you in Google's eyes because of the lack of content that is in here. I'm going to go to book a hunt, and again, it gives us a lot of contact information. A lot of people now are wanting to contact you by email or through filling out an online form and that sort of thing, and we're really not accommodating the visitor with that sort of technology here on your site. I would imagine your phone does ring. But I also would imagine that if you had a contact form on here where somebody could put in their name and their telephone number, a little about themselves and the type of hunt that they want to experience, that you would get more contacts along with the phone calls and that sort of thing. I'm going to go to another reference page, and this reference page comes up when I do a Google search as you can kind of see up above the word Google, or below the word Google, where it says Southeast Kansas Outfitters. Obviously, that's the name of your business, and I congratulate you on that. And when you do these types of searches, these maps come up, and the maps then show below it the three businesses that it feels best is represented by the key term Southeast Kansas Outfitters. Now, you're in the number one position, and I've got to congratulate you on that. But notice that it says underneath there that there are no reviews. If I was somebody coming to or searching for an outfitter in Kansas, and I type this particular key phrase in, and I see these three offerings, and I see you at the top, but then I see Kansas Big Buck Outfitters with 17 reviews and a 3.8 star, and then I see Paradise Adventures. They only have 2 reviews, but they have a 5-star rating. Since you don't have any reviews, I think as a consumer, I might go and contact one of the others first accordingly. Now, this is not done through your website. This is done through something called Google Business. And in regards to Google Business, this is your Google Business account. And it's sort of like a Facebook or a social media account. But since Google has developed this technology and this system, they put a lot of credence on having it set up properly. And it doesn't look like your Google Business account has been set up at all. And this is really hurting the site because, again, Google is relying on Google Business to collect reviews and to have a lot of content such as photos in it, more information about the business. And again, your Google web page or your business page is fairly stark. And again, that's hurting us. Another thing that I wanted to show you is that Google has a tool called a mobile-friendly test. And so if I click on here, and it's going to ask for your web page, and it's sekoutfitters.com. And I'll hit the run test, and it'll take here just a few minutes. But one of the things that we find, and the industry points out a lot, is that many people, in fact, not many, most anymore, will visit your website the first time on a mobile device. And if your website is not set up in such a way that it's easy to read on a mobile device, if it's not laid out properly on a mobile device, then Google will not forward visitors to you based on searches that don't include your business name. And so if I typed in like Kansas Outfitters, because your site, and I'm showing you here, is not mobile friendly in Google's eyes, then Google is not presenting your business to probably hundreds, if not thousands of people a year because this hasn't been addressed. Now, this really reflects back to the age of the site. Again, I'm thinking the site is probably 10 years old, something like that. Back then, they didn't have what they call reflective design, and so it doesn't format well when it goes onto a mobile device. Fixing this problem can also increase dramatically the rankings that you get from Google because it's now mobile friendly. The last thing I wanted to show you is what they call a rankings checker. And this is a tool that I subscribe to that will allow me to go in and type in the business name, and then it will give me an idea of the average ranking that they're getting on particular keywords. So I typed in sekoutfitters.com, and as you can see on the number one line there, it says Southeast Kansas Outfitters. You have a ranking of number one, as you should, because that's your business name, and the volume is 10, meaning there are 10 people per month that search for Southeast spelled out Kansas Outfitters. Now, that doesn't mean that you get all 10 of those visitors, but you get 10 sets of eyeballs on your list, on your listing on that Google search, and you'll get maybe 10, maybe 20% in the number one position. So you'll get 1 or 2 people of that 10 that will click on your site and go take a look at it. Now, if I scroll down here, Unit 11, Kansas deer hunting, you're in the number 11 position. Now that puts you on the second page, because there are only 10 business or 10 listings, organic listings, on a Google search without it going to another page, and so you're at the top of the second page. Only about 3% of all people that do a Google search will move on to the second page, and so in this case, there are 30 people per month that will move on, that will search for Unit 11 Kansas deer hunting. And if you're only getting, 3%, which would be one person coming across to the second page, and they're seeing you there, the chances of them clicking on that are pretty slim at that point. But I'm going to point out some other things. See down here where it says Kansas Outfitters? You're in the number 17th position there. Now, 17 puts you in the middle of the second page. And the amount of traffic of people typing in Kansas Outfitters per month is 320. So if only 3% goes onto that second page, you have 9 sets of eyeballs looking at the listing that you have in Google. With a little bit of effort on the site, with a little bit of redesign and optimization, if you could get yourself in that 10th position, or maybe as low as the 7th position on that first page, you'd have 320 sets of eyeballs on your business listing on the Google searches, and that would make probably a huge difference in the amount of calls and contacts that you're getting on a monthly basis. And so if I was your designer, if I was the person working with you to get exposure to your business, this would be one of the things that I'd work on a lot, is getting you listed under Kansas Outfitters on the first page of Google, because that's really going to be a payday for you when that happens. And I can scroll down. You're listed in many different searches out there. The further down we go, typically the further down you go in the rankings. So, for instance, Kansas deer hunting outfitters, there are 390 people that type that in per month, and you're on the 4th page there in the 38th position. Again, this would be something that I would suggest that you concentrate on, trying to get that up by adding search engine optimization to your website, maybe doing a redesign. Obviously getting that mobile site up, because you're missing a ton of business there. So anyway, I appreciate your time. I hope this helps. If you're interested in talking about maybe the next step on how we might be able to help you, I'd welcome that conversation with you. Anyway, again, thanks again for your time, and I hope this helps.